接下来要对阵 VG 的话，我觉他们首先现在战绩不是特别好，但是我觉得他们的双人线就在比赛中，不管是输了的比赛还是赢了的比赛，他们的下路都表现得很亮眼。所以我觉得打 VG 的话，只要我们争取在下路不给到他们机会，我觉得我们上中也会带领我们赢下比赛的。
That was so well said, Chris. Welcome back. My name's XLwx. This is Jimmy Preacher Food. And Chris was like dead on the money right there. The top, mid, and jungle led the way through for FPX. And it was the bottom lane of Vici Gaming that pushed their way through. But when you have Doinb on Riven, who is our MVP, by the way, leading the charge, it's very hard to win. Like, very hard to win.
He's just trailing behind. Right now, Knight has 12 MVPs and Doinb has 11, so he is chasing behind, and I expect that he'll be looking for a second one in our second game of today. That would even it out. But going back to Chris' point, that is exactly what they played towards in this game, because if you took a look at game number 1, they weren't playing to win the bottom lane, they were playing to simply survive it and make sure that they can join the rest of their team, which was massively ahead thanks to Tian.
And I love it, the point when you get through the laning phase, when you go 1-2 items, okay, we're FPX, we're going to fight. We know our conditions, and although Jay had a very good game himself, it looked like Doinb was kind of cleaning house too. Although Vici Gaming, that was a very opening kill.
It was, and Vici Gaming actually won this initial fight, which allowed them to turn towards the Baron. It was because FPX didn't have the best of knowledge around there, and also because Vici could collapse faster. But right after the Baron started, watch out for that as well. That's what really enabled Doinb to get the lead. Another one was, of course, this 1v1. It was a boom and a buff with the ulti and the ignite and the minion.
It was that minion that did it, for sure.
Minion MVP.
That was the minion that did it, for sure. But I finally got my 1v1, although it was a little bit later.
You wanted
with Doinb, kind of a bit stronger as well. So we saw the Riven, we saw the Silas, two very good picks in their own right. Not surprised that Doinb picked it up in the mid lane. I said in Champ Select, I'm like, hang on. It's FPX. That could be a Riven mid.
Realistically, you say that about any champion that they lock in. You could be like, yeah, Doinb could be playing it in the mid lane. It's a good counter towards Silas, so I'm glad that they picked it up and didn't necessarily commit it to the top lane. They wanted to commit it against the Silas, and they did it.
Not the Rise, but the Riven. So game 2, you know, there'll be a lot of questions that were asked towards Vici Gaming. I know at this point, not looking at them because of playoffs and because for FPX, a very important game to secure first place, but I like the momentum, I like the pace that was set by Vici Gaming and how they ramped up and kept up with a team like FPX, Preacher.
Especially in the early game, because that looked like a revitalized Vici. You remember back to when they first started winning at the start of the split, we were like, this is a different Vici. They could potentially do it. That's how they did it in the early game as well. They know that mechanically, compared to the rest of the LPL, their players are not quite up to scratch just yet. So what do? They immediately play towards the other parts of the map, bring uneven fights, so that even if the members are maybe lacking in mechanics, if it's a 4v3, then you can easily win it. Push into the enemy's jungle. Look great.
Give yourself quick mass and you're all good to go, apparently. I agree with that. The Vici, so playing towards maybe more of their own refined style, or refining style, I should say, but FPX is still the focus here. Don't forget that GimGoon had that first gank from Tian. It was beautifully executed. It was so easily done as well. And it just kind of show you, kind of shows you, we'll get there, that Tian has a lot of topside focus as well as the bottom side, and Doinb.
Well, I like to take a step back from that, because what it means is that it's no longer the tried and true tested method where Tian goes into the mid lane, gets Doinb ahead, and those two just roam around the entire map.
He really didn't go mid at all.
No, yeah, what he did was he went into the enemy jungle, stole away some camps. Wasn't really the highlight. The highlight was going down, burning the flash in the initial part, and not actually leaving so that they could actually pick up the kill in the second.
Gone. Wait, am I gone? Yes, I have left. Ike spots me. I'm out anyway.
That's exactly why you should teach a kid object permanence. Even if they can't see it, it's still there, and TM picks up the kill. I like the repel as well, because it means that Chelizi can't actually follow up with a return on the zombie Scion. It was a beautiful play.
No, it really was, because the Scion, you know that's going to go okay. The Poppy's still in that lane, like, still great. And I love how you mentioned, all right, GimGoon at the start of that game. Before we even went into pick ban, you're like, well, he plays well on the tanks, he plays well on initiators for FPX. Picks up the Poppy, and you're saying, here we go again. LPL Poppy looking darn good.
And when we got into game and we saw the Conquerors as well, I was like, is this going to be a tank? Is this going to be a carry? What was it? It kind of looked like a mix of both, and they just did it in relenting style, because there was never a straight 5v5. It was always tactical fights.
Yeah, it was the Sunfire Kate that got picked up first there, and Tian, the man who just walked past your screen, made sure that GimGoon was in a very comfortable position. Early CS there in the top lane. Mid lane was quite even. The bottom lane for Vici was their biggest priority. And even then, LWX and Crisp came out in a big way. But GimGoon surprised that He doesn't win all the MVPs, not always, because Doinb takes them away.
He steals them on his Riven. He picks up Riven and we're like, great, it's going top. Nah, it's actually going mid. But let's take a look. Let's do a 180 and take a look at the other side. So Vici Gaming, they still do have a very good chance, especially seeing as how they played in the very first game. What they need to do right now is focus a whole lot more towards the bottom side. They played towards the bottom part of the jungle because they wanted to bring the bottom lane along. Very beautiful play, but now they need to incorporate the bottom lane, especially Puff, because his Kaiser looked pretty good in order to actually get those leads.
No, it really did. Taking it away from LWX as well. Remember that is his most played champion still, even though we expect to see more of the Ashe, the Xayah down in that bottom lane, especially for him. So I'm glad to see that what I get from this game one is that FPX are adaptable as always. If you didn't know that already, especially against Vici Gaming, when a team you do not expect to put up that much of a fight, a team that you say is not playing well, comes out of the woodwork in game one and puts up an early game show that normally you'd say FPX could do exactly that.
Let's go. You can see that FPX are playing towards the playoff positions right now because they are not only going for the points, which of course they are dominating in, but they're also playing towards building new strategies for themselves, leaving Doinb alone, going into the top lane. Tian, you did massively for that, but if he can also do this in the second game, maybe towards the bottom side to see if LWS and Crisp can get ahead in their own lane, then it would really mean that teams need to fear FPX because you can't predict where he's going to go.
In game one, a lot of pick potential with that composition. I want to see what changes in game two from Warhorse standing behind. And for FPX, the road, it's almost over, Preacher. It doesn't matter how they go against V5 if they win this next game. They will secure first place in the LPL Spring and head to playoffs straight into the finals. So Vici now on the red side as FPX have chosen blue. Ban away the Silas so that Doinb cannot pick up champion number 16.
Yeah, I'm a fan of that. I'm a fan of taking that away so that neither of these two teams necessarily have to worry about it. It kind of looks as if in the first game, Vici Gaming had to first pick it because it was available and you don't want it falling over to the hands of Doinb. But now that it's off the map, we get to see Doinb on something much more comfortable to his style.
Remember, that could also be his Galio, don't forget. Vici Gaming might just take away the open Rek'Sai. Lissandra, not open. I was just scanning through the bans there. Surprised FPX didn't go for that in the first rotation, but Tian knowing that his Jarvan's open as a counteraction could just be the way to go.
Yeah, it means that Tian doesn't have to worry too much as far as the jungle pool goes. Rek'Sai was banned in the very first game, so that is why we're seeing it in the second one, not the first one. And more importantly, FPX are not sweating this one out because they've got a response to it. It looks good. We don't need to talk about Tian necessarily picking it up. We need to talk about where he's going, but I think he's trolling us.
Oh, yeah, look,
Come on.
Preach, it'll be the Jarvan. Yeah. That's the third time. I'll tell you something about hovers, ladies and gentlemen. If they return to a champion more than twice, that's what they're going to play. That's hover number 3. That's what he's going to play. Not talking any further until I actually see this. It is FPX, right. Remember, and Doinb has played this before. Game 1 on the Riven looked great. Cheeky little smile from him as well.
He knows what he's up to. He could legitimately do this. It could be a new champion in his pool that people need to potentially think about banning out.
Preacher, he picked it up in the first rotation red side. Like, he can do anything he wants, but LWX really wants to play the Kaiser in game 2. Again, his best champion, so we'll see it on it in this second game.
And you'd have to expect that now Jay hovering the Zoe, it should be up against the Galio. Doinb's one of the more notorious Galio players. Usually you think about flexing it into the support, not for FPX. So Vici Gaming looking for a little bit more security as far as the mid lane goes in order to clear out waves and roam for themselves.
Well, Vici Gaming thinks that is going to be Crisp on Galio, and let's keep our minds wide open because remember, Crisp has played a lot of Galio, so it's not totally uncharacteristic of FPX to pick it up. You see the Yasuo ban there by Vici Gaming, making sure that Doinb, and yes, you know, more than likely, is not going to pick up a carry in that mid lane.
I like it. I actually like how FPX is completely mind game Vici Gaming. They hovered it for the longest time, so naturally has to be banned away. You don't want to pick it into a Zoe either, so right now, for FPX, what they want to do is tighten the pool for Puff. We keep on going back to the bottom lane of Vici Gaming because in the LDL especially, that's where they really carried through Puff and Southwind. Southwind being a very nice MVP player in its own right. So you need to make sure that taking away ADCs, especially something like the Ezreal, would really put Puff on the
I wouldn't be surprised if we see an Ashe here from Puff in game 1, LWX of course, but it has been a Puff pick, unless with the Tahm Kench they want something like the Xayah, but again, very uncharacteristic of Vici Gaming's AD carry. You've lost the Varus, you've now lost that Ashe, so Vici Gaming. Couple of options. You pointed out the Ezreal Preacher.
Because it is his most played champion, and still he has a very good win rate with it, so realistically, Vici should be going towards that direction. Now, this would be new, because what it signifies for Puff specifically is that he's adapted. Nah, okay, so he's going back to the... He's going back to... Wait a second.
Preacher, what did I say about hovers, man?
All right, man. All right, I don't even know anymore, because at this point, I wasn't certain that he was going to lock this in. It is an eye-edge champion, and even though it gets built much later in Vayne's build path, it still does mean that Puff wants to be more auto-attacking than anything else.
We know what's going to happen with Puff on that Vayne, of course, but what is going to happen with FPX? GimGoon on the Vladimir, potentially. Could also be Doinb, remember?
Don't lock
double
anything in.
flex.
Oh, man.
Okay,
All
Preacher.
Right.
On Cassiopeia, Doinb has a 21 KDA after 3 games. 100% win rate. His Cassiopeia, alongside his Rise, is his best champion in the spring split.
I remember that, and the only difficulty that he's going to have into Jay is the range from the paddle star. But besides that, if he can get the initial lockdown onto Jay can't even use his ulti because of the miasma. So I am really fearing for Vici Gaming in this matchup.
I'm having asthma right now. I can't even breathe seeing another Doinb Cassiopeia. I'm just waiting for FPX to get into these 20, 25-minute team fights and look at the individuality from the Vladimir, from the Cassiopeia, LWX on his fabled Kai'Sa, Crisp on his fabled Galio. This screams FPX, and if this is the game that takes us out, I'm glad it was this composition. Even
more so. Pretty much every single ultimate coming out from FPX is an AoE ability, and it's a dunk composition from the Jarvan and the Galio to really 100% secure that you're going to knock somebody up on the side of Vici Gaming. So Vici need to be very safe about this. First of all, don't clump up. Second of all, don't group as a 5-man and look for 5v5s. And third of all, if you can, try to use the side lanes as much as you possibly could.
And to quote Papa Smithy here, the Vladimir likes the cannon lane. He does pretty well into it. Maybe one of the quotes I've gotten right tonight, actually, as we head into game number 2. I do apologize, Mr. Razzie Plasm, but let's take stock. Because FPX, you look at this series and you say, how do we beat this team? You need an early game like Vici Gaming had in Game 1. You need the punishing bottom lane like you had in Game 1. You don't have the Ashe, but you find yourself on something that Puff has played once or twice before. The Vayne lane has been more successful than not here in the LPL. Remember, Uzi's favorite champions, Imp has played it quite a lot as well. And it has been quite nice to see it get off the ground.
That record is general, though. We still need to see whether Puff can perform massively on this champion.
Very true.
If you're talking about how to beat FPX, right now I'm looking at it and I'm saying, take down Doinb and then copy and paste that about 5 times.
Copy and paste it 5 times. That's what a Rek'Sai could do, but to get through Doinb, you have to get through Tian. The 2v2 in the mid lane. I look at that, I get excited once more. 21 KDA, 3 games, 100% win rate on the Cassiopeia, and it returns to the mid lane for FPX in what could be their first place security match.
So you were talking about the top lane matchup between the Vladimir and the Kennen, but one thing that I really like looking at right now is the press the attack coming out from Chelizi, because what it means is that he's actually going AD Kennen, and I like it because he's going to be rushing Blade the Rune
Hang
King
on,
first.
Not yet, Preacher.
Here
Pause. Doinb's doing this again like he did to Kuro from BLG. Level 1 Cassiopeia, Twin Fang, Corrupting Potion, Jay at half health. Very similar to BLG's starting laning phase.
It's all about the Corrupting Potion hysterics, and now with that advantage, he can start calling in Tian. It's going to be a much easier lane to gank, and I'm fearing for Jay. But going back to my original point, with the Kennen in the top lane, if you build Blade the Ruin King first, it's not even a bad matchup into the Vladimir, because you get the sustain coming out from the lifesteal, and you can actually go toe-to-toe with him in lane.
The only other person who has done on-hit Kennen in the LPL has been the Shy in the Kennen AD carry lane, and they lost that game very closely to BLG. Game number 1 it was. This game, though, of course, you saw that the vertical jungling has started off. Tian spotted out towards the blue buff. Ike makes a response, gets Tian's on the other side of the map.
But at this point, you sort of expect it from Vici Gaming. You always know that they're going to invade whichever part of the map they naturally start on. So FPX is just doing it a little bit faster to make sure that they'll always be in the faster rotations, especially if there's some action in the lanes.
Action was building up in the mid lane. Speak of the devil. Jay still at half health. Doinb forcing him out with the poison. Look how aggressive he's playing up here. And with Tian just moments behind him heading to his own jungle, Doinb feels safe.
This is dangerous for Ix as well, because now he's going to be collapsed on by Tian. Tian doesn't even need to use a flag rack to get in, but now
Ix half health gets knocked up. Remember, only one buff, red buff available for Ix, but level 2 versus level 3, Tian knows that he has the top laner to deal with too, but GimGoon is just walking out. The Vladimir is fine, Ix is not, slowed on down, unburrows. Tian now going to turn his attention to Chelizi, who might just have to lightning surge out too.
And a little bit slow as a response from GimGoon. If he moved down as soon as Tian started the 1v1, he could have potentially just picked up a kill onto Ix, but that's not happening, and Vici Gaming don't get the jungle dead for their side is a little bit of a bonus, because realistically it should have happened if FPX was smarter.
Yeah, woulda, shoulda, coulda. GimGoon still getting poked out there by Chelizi. Didn't want to take the full-on risk. So stays in the lane. Vladimir looking for that level 6 as Jay. Now taking a slice out of Doinb's book. Let's go bottom lane.
Here we are. And he's not being spotted out either.
Well, that's a double flash for Flash. Jay now coming in. Paddle Star's there, but Minion Wave blocks him off. Execution just can't come through with the full pushed out FPX.
It's a little bit too fast on the Q. If Jay waited out for it, then he could have maybe got it down onto LWX, and then it would have looked a whole lot better for Vici Gaming. But I still like the initiative anyway, because it means that Jay is stealing the strategy away, and he also knows that Doinb is going to be sticking in this lane until he gets his 2-item power spike, because Cassiopeia is not really known to be a roamer unless everybody else is joining her, so Vici Gaming using the early game.
But of course, when Jay roamed down, he had to go back, had to sacrifice part of this mid lane wave. Looks like it will be a cannon, so not too much left to the win, but Doinb has himself 5 or so CS advantage after that gets cleared away. There's a tier in stock now as well for the Cassiopeia at level 4. Doinb will walk back to lane after it resets from this turret. And maybe it's more. It's about 10 CS advantage here. That's for the Cassiopeia.
Yeah, it's actually crazy, especially considering that it's Doinb's Cassiopeia. What I want to see is Tian and what sort of impact he has on the map, because the whole map's open and it's his for the taking.
But he can keep farming. I mean, he's got a CS advantage himself. He is double the CS of Ix, who's trying to gank the bottom lane, and has the level advantage too. Ix cannot 3v3 here at this current point, and Tian knows that, but with the Chilling Smite and Jay coming in too, might have to disappear. Troll Bubble doesn't land. Now the 4v3s you mentioned there, Preacher, just going to disperse.
Because Tian was there to defuse whatever was happening in the bottom lane. Now 2 unsuccessful ganks from Jay. He's been moving away from the mid lane massively. Check out the CS differential. That's only going to grow as time goes on. Jay cannot 1v1 against Doinb, primarily because of the level 1 that we saw coming out of Doinb and the corrupting potion. So this is punishing for Jay. He can't find his own lane and he can't find the other one.
There's so much mana storage there on Doinb now as well with the tier. You forget how punishing it can be just finding the tier flat and how much mana it has. Troll Bubble, rather Paddle Star, will not land there onto Doinb, and Cassiopeia is almost level 6 as well. So Vici Gaming, a lot of threats across the map, trying to null one in this bottom lane.
Wait a second.
Yeah, there's the Petrifying Gaze. We finally see it flag drag. Good night, Jay. But there's the bottom lane, are they being tucked into bed? Well, LPX, he is condemned. Perfectly timed against War. LPX doesn't survive, but do they get a trade-off kill? Devour there from Southwind to keep Puff alive. Heal Burt too. The main thing is, Vici Gaming get the kill.
A lot of summoners burned in the bottom lane as opposed to the mid lane. What I wanted to talk about was that was so standard coming out from FPX. You should have expected that as soon as Doinb hit level 6, Tian would be right around the corner to gank your lane, even under 2 turrets. Nobody cares.
Ix cannot step anywhere near Doinb. That is a massive wave that has just been lost. Jay is still not level 6. Will be Miasma underneath his own turret. Is 20 CS behind, and even in the 1v2, without Petrifying Gaze, I favor the Cassiopeia. Although Doinb, at a quarter of his mana storage, might have to play this more cautiously.
The spam is real, so realistically, Jay just needs to get the paddle stars down, but already this is dangerous.
Oh, Crisp is back on in. The flash is there. Shielded Rand, no need to flash, but Jay has to burn his. Now hitting level 6 as well means this lane is a bit safer for him, but with no summoner. Oh, hang on. With no real summoner it just becomes more dangerous as we look at bottom lane again.
Yeah, this was the play that we were looking for in the bottom lane, and LWX is the natural target. So everything is going so well, and he even gets condemned into the wall. The heal looked like it would have saved him for a second, but the extra damage from Puff, and even the eat to make sure that the turret shot didn't kill him at the end, was well executed.
Really great flash timing as well there from the support of the bottom lane. Vici Gaming, their condition back online again, and it's the bottom lane that triumphs, while Ike's himself falls so far behind. 17 CS in this jungle early on. And Doinb going to pick up this blue buff. You see Ike's heading towards his own to give to Jay. But Tian is just having a field day. Top lanes even. We already talked about the mid lane. And if this bottom lane needs to come more online, we need to see more of Ike's heading down there for the dive.
So we just need to see whether Ike's and Jay can coordinate themselves both going bottom lane. Because both of them have gone there independently, but if a Zoe and a Rek'Sai head down there together, then it could be very deadly because of the CC lockup that they have. It looks like Vici Gaming have the correct mindset, but they're just miscommunicating, mis-executing it in the second game.
The only thing I see about this creature is the fact that Vici Gaming normally go for a blue buff invade pretty much now. They're on the wrong side of the map because on red side, you don't have that kind of luxury. Let's see if a red buff gets invaded, but timing's just not there either. But pick up the Mountain Drake anyway, so that's the biggest takeaway here is that Vici Gaming transition their pressure into something.
It kind of looks as if the Dragon is much better for them than the blue buff if they were on blue side anyway. Vici Gaming, they need to adapt their strategy to make sure that they can start getting those objectives for themselves. Right now, though, our main focus still has to be Doinb and when exactly he comes online. Because his Cassiopeia is already massive.
I feel like he came online level 1, to be quite honest.
Well, you're talking about the 1v1.
He entered Summoner's Rift and he was online.
What I was talking about is when he starts roaming, because that's what we know Doinb to be. And that's him leaving lane is really where we have to watch out for.
Ooh, good snuck there from Ike's. Just spotting out Tian, the mid 2v2 continues with the help of this Jarvan. But he'll be spotted out, clearing and moving to the other side over that mid lane ward. Doinb forced back as well, still 20 CS ahead. Jay trying to stop that back to keep him in lane. Just not a possibility at this point in the game.
Jay right now is really struggling. He's trying to make moves down onto other parts of the map, not really working in his favor. He's trying to stay in his own lane, not really working either. And if you take a look at the turret plating in mid lane, it's still bearing down.
I think I was right though, Preacher. It doesn't matter what buff.
They just don't care.
Ike steals the red buff. Just the stock standard from Vici Gaming. Bottom side steal. That's what I'm going to call. That's their new technique.
It is.
Every single go.
You just go into the enemy's jungle on the bottom side, regardless of what buff it is. And I really like the fact that it's on Rek'Sai as well, because what it means is that Ike's uses the passive to make sure that nobody is around, especially not Tian, and he takes it for free.
Issue is to translate the lead further. Steals are good, but mid lane's still running away. Top lane's in a good position here for the Vladimir, who seems to be going for that proto belt first. The bottom lane, even in CS after that first blood.
This is still my criticism of Vici that has not changed between either game number 1 nor 2, and that is that Vici's individual mechanics compared to the rest of the members of the LPL are simply lacking. They cannot get ahead naturally if you just leave everybody to their own lanes, and Ike's cannot get them ahead because in the past, it kind of looks as if his ganking paths were not as accurate as the opponent's. So I like seeing him steal stuff away, but needs to do more.
Definitely
That's my criticism.
That's a good trade from Jay in the mid lane, though. Just taking your eyes to the point of interest. It's a Archangel staff for Doinb straight away, as you would go, but very early on here in the matchup. Jay starting to output some damage. The hope for Vici Gaming's mid laner still there, as Tian decides against the Rift Herald, but maybe back to the mid lane for more diving potential. Crisp is nearby with ultimate too, so the potential, absolutely there.
Keep your eyes on the Southwind, because if anybody's going to start an engagement, it should be him with his ultimate as well. He can pop over a wall, Jay can pop over with his ultimate, so we need to see where Vici Gaming's next focus is, because they still got the early game in terms of moving around faster.
Well, they do, but Doinb's out of it before it begins. Cataclysm down, here comes the hero's entrance, but devoured up Southwind right on the money. Jay comes in with a smite, gets the minion, and that'll be the end of the fight. That was such a good pickoff from the Zoe.
It wasn't even a fight, it was just Jay 1v1ing Doinb. Doinb wasn't standing inside of his minion wave, gets popped by the paddle star. That's what we were talking about. Jay needs to really shut down Doinb to make sure that he cannot shut down the rest of Vici Gaming side lanes. Finally, it's starting to work, even though it's been 10 minutes before it happened.
And suddenly, if you're a Cassiopeia, that lead, it doesn't go out the window per se, but it definitely halts that aggression that you've been seeing into the mid lane up until this point. Backing now, Jay's going to capitalize huge. What does he pick up? Should be the Luden's Echo here with the gold, but we'll take a look at the replay first.
The angle was good. He pops in with the Sleepy Trouble Bubble as well for the extra damage and more sparkles.
Yeah, that was so clean. Luden's Echo back on that node as we come back live. Has not been picked up. There's a blasting one instead. You have double Dark Seal, so you've got a couple of stacks on top of that too. No first item for the Zoe mid. So Doinb still a big threat, but it's good to see that Jay fights back to help with his jungle's pressure.
And look, even though Jay got the 1v1 kill, that was in isolation of everything else that's happening on the map, and he still needs to be wary about his turret. It's on one turret plating, and it's going to fall very, very soon. So he needs to start thinking about what happens when his mid lane turret falls, and where exactly he needs to get his vision down to make sure that Doinb effectively doesn't get the free roam that he wanted.
You need to match Doinb as well. Don't forget, Rift Herald's being started here by FPX, and quick Rift Herald means that we can set that up towards the top side. Maximum turret plating, maximum potential to maybe unlock GimGoon.
This is good.
We'll keep him in the shorter lanes. Let's find out. Ike's wants to challenge the Rift Herald.
Jay.
Can you find it? Eye's being hit, smite down, secured by Tian. They'll walk in, Troll Ball lands too, but remember Doinb with Petrifying Gaze disables the engage from Vici Gaming.
Very precarious from Vici Gaming, and even though Ike's was calling in Jay, he shouldn't have stayed that long because his smite wasn't available to potentially take that Rift Herald. So now with the Rift Herald available for FPX, everybody on the side of Vici Gaming needs to be very careful, because if they get ganked, then that job is dropping.
It really is. Vici Gaming have a small lead, however, at 13 minutes in the game. A big change from game number one is that they've held the momentum, and with their bot side priority still existing, Infernal's all theirs. Yeah, baby. 2 dragons. Look at the turrets falling. What happened? That number's just floating in the air. Whoop. But it is turret plating we're focusing on. Rift Herald dropped on down now. Means turret's going to be like paper, while Ike gets the Infernal.
10 seconds too late, but what it means is that he's going to get a second charge down onto the second turret, so not all is lost for FPX.
Let's go, Sherlina. Hit it. Ugh. Yeah, that was a disgusting noise, Preacher. I don't know what that was.
It was Shelly going in.
Yeah, that's really not what I want to hear. As disgusting as it was, still you get some damage on the mid lane in it, so I think it's worth it, even if you sound like that, Preacher. At this point, though, for Doinb, opening up the lane, and like you mentioned before, what's Doinb going to do now with that extra space? Well, on the move potentially, as Ike is rinse and repeating the red buff gang.
Right now, Jay is faster though, so if he can make a play, he might even capitalize off of it, but he's opting to go back, which means that he will not actually pick up what could have been something fairly easy in the bottom lane.
Potentially, yeah. The turret goes down anyway, so with the added pressure, Vici Gaming once again open up the map. Turret for turret. Vici Gaming dead even in gold there with FPX.
So this is what I like to focus on. The bottom lane matchup is actually favoring Puff even in terms of the gold. He's a Vayne, which means he's going to be scaling much later as well. And I like to see Vici Gaming finally putting the pressure down where they deserve onto the bottom lane, who has carried them all the way through the LDL.
Yeah, that's right. Vici Gaming in the LPL with a 5-man LDL squad. We always call them the developmental team this split. There's a big reason why. The potential is so open-windowed as now for Jay has to show us why to Doinb in the 1v2, helped out by Southwind, but Doinb still has the noxious blast. Thumbs up. That's just showing you how dominant Doinb is. Jay over the wall with the troll bomb, but Doinb still nearby.
Smart plays from Jay as well to use it so that he can get eaten up by Southwind, but that was a botched engagement simply because he missed his skill shots, and that's really how volatile it is for Jay. If you land it, you can 100-0 Doinb like we saw in the 1v1, but if you don't, then it's disastrous for you because Cassiopeia will walk up and she'll just blast you as you're trying to get your way out.
Remember that if you're caught in a portal jump by a Cassiopeia, you look forward. There is no way you're getting out of Petrifying Gaze, so portal jump, the riskiest mechanic into a Cassiopeia. Won't see it just yet as there's a cooldown on the mid lane ultimate, but FPX, they turn their bottom lane into a top one and start hammering away on this top lane turret.
I like it, and I also like how FPX were the first team to rotate, even though Vici got the bottom lane turret. But here's a 1v1 though.
Okay, what happens here? Because GimGoon might have the advantage. Chelizi's on hit, remember. Vladimir looking for the Crimson Rush. He'll find it. He'll find the solo kill as well in 3, 2, 1.
It just wasn't enough. Even though there was a Blade the Ruin King available for Chelizi, he only has a Negatron Cloak, and GimGoon is just simply too far forward. With the Sork Boots as well, he might as well not have any resistances.
Man, GimGoon, it looks great to see a Vladimir 1v1 because it always misleads you to thinking he's losing it. But Crimson Rush comes out massively against Chelizi, and the on-hit cannon who just picked up Blade of the Ruin King couldn't win out, sent back to base packing. While he just might lose his bottom lane turret.
And it was a little bit late on the ulti as well. So if Chelizi used his ultimate as soon as GimGoon started the engage, even before the Hemo Plague, maybe he could have won it with the stun up as well. But all of that is coulda, shoulda, woulda. Because Chelizi did, he risks much more than his life because the rest of the map is open, especially because Dragon's coming up.
Yeah. Watch the 1v1 again, Preacher. Talk to me. What happened?
Well, this was really good at the start for the cannon because he's starting to heal up, even with the Blade of the Ruin King as well. But then Crimson Rush, it was too much healing from the Q of the Vladimir.
Yep. And you see the difference now purely by winning that 1v1. GimGoon now ahead in CS, gets the solo turret gold on the bottom side, picks up the Oblivion Orb from that little fight as well. Chelizi, side note, working towards a wit's end to make himself more volatile in that said 1v1 matchup. But the rest of FPX now looking ahead. Bottom lane for LWX as a CS lead. Mid lane in Doinb still that initial assist, bit of CS. He's the only one who's practically even. And of course the jungler's there and Ike's who's caught his way up too.
Well, here's your checkup. Is Vayne online? The answer's not quite yet. So we need to wait until at the very least Akinzu's Rage Blade before we see Puff in action, and that is really tough for Vici Gaming. They've invested so much into this Vayne and they cannot use it at this part of the game yet. So obviously Vici Gaming need to play defensive once more, and if they keep on just laning in these straight even fights, we just saw what happened in the 1v1 off to the side, but even beyond that, it means they're going to be losing out in gold.
Having said that, still playing towards the picks there as Jay lands a sleep control bubble. That's a final hour popped there by Puff. LWX, remember, he has the killer instinct available. Won't use it with Southwind nearby. A Caffeine Rain to clear out the wave. A close call. In retrospect, his heal was burnt by Puff.
Yeah, Puff using his heal, not quite the ideal situation. It felt as if he wanted to sink all of his costs down onto that sunken ship.
He wanted to kill LWX.
Once you press R, you can't just not hit them.
I mean, you can. It's called running away.
Not as a Vayne. And especially not as Puff, because
like
once
that
again
idea.
we have to go back to Vici Gaming focusing so much onto the bottom part. And if Puff can't make the advantages like GimGoon has on the top side for FPX, then it's just uneven and broken.
They're just starting it up anyway, though. Remember, Hero's Entrance available. Use Cataclysm on top of Southwind. Shield of Duran. Flashes there. Cleanse comes through from Southwind, but so much expended to kill this. Ultimate as well from LWX as I say that. It'll be the kill for FPX, but a lot of ultimates burnt.
Wait. You don't know where Ike's is? He just shot a Q over the wall. All right. Well, whatever. FPX let him go instead of trying to chase that kill. But FPX, finally, they're doing what they do best. And that's group up as multiple members to start roaming around the map.
He gave a kill over as well to FPX. Gold still in their favor. LWX working towards that second item as Kai'Sa. It's Fleet Footwork once again here to synergize with the Storm Razors. So glad to see. I reckon it's the best iteration of the Kai'Sa with Storm Razors. But this game, now you've got other conditions here for FPX. Game number one, you're like, wow, the Poppy's tanky. What are we going to do? This game, you're like, GimGoon does a lot of damage. What are we going to do? Multiple or even more damage threats for FPX.
Right now, LWS is just doing his best BG's impersonation and staying alive in the lane against Puff to make sure that he can get into the middle of these teamfights and not give the advantages over to Puff. But ultimately, FPX don't really have to worry about their bottom lane. They never have, and they don't need to this game because it's not the priority. If you take a look at the rest of the map, even though there's a solo death onto Doinb, he's still managing to pick up these crucial items that he needs into the Zoe lane.
Yeah, second item picked up. Good point. Banshee's Veil. That is so irritating to deal with again as a Zoe. We have Luden's Echo picked up. Jay may have found himself a sneaky J4. Flag drag away. Doinb ready to respond as well, who's level 14 now, by the way. That is a very escalated Cassiopeia.
And because he doesn't need to buy boots, he has escalated in terms of his build as well. But now we got to take a look at what exactly is the most important thing on the map. So Ocean Drake is not available for the next hot while, and the biggest objective is this Baron. I don't think that FPX want to go for it, but if they want to bait around it, the Vici Gaming have no choice but to respond because Puff is on the top side.
They need this outer turret before they can even think about that Dragon. Baron. FPX clear it away, find an opening. Now Baron, so much more pressure on top of it. The warding from Vici Gaming doesn't extend towards that pit. Bar one outside the circle, which still hasn't been spotted here. So a smart ward by Vici Gaming. But I want to turn your attention to the fact that Doinb is 253 CS at 22 minutes, Preacher.
Hashtag casual. It's just a casual Doinb thing, especially for his Cassiopeia. We expect him to do so much good work because his Cassiopeia, while he hasn't played the most amount of games on it, he's only played it when he's absolutely needed to. It's a counter towards the Zoe, and right now against Jay, we can see why. Because Jay can't go in with his ultimate, and right now with the Banshees there, he can't even go in with the E either. And, by the way, you mentioned his CS. Now he has a Rylai's in his inventory as well.
That's a 3-item Cassiopeia.
Yeah. How did that happen?
Although his 21 KDA might be hurt by the death that was picked up earlier on for Doinb, still, there's more to come, so don't turn away. You've got a Cassiopeia who is an item and a half ahead of their counterpart. And that's the CS that comes into favor. That is the neutral gold that has gone over to FPX. FPX, blue side, you got 3k gold lead at 23 minutes. Yes!
Okay.
All right.
But what you got to do with it? That's the real question.
That's ours. Easy. Now look at it fly. Cameraman. Okay, good enough.
Yeah, they're just trying to follow it back all the way to the river, which is very smart for them because there is a control ward for FPX in the Baron pit. It means that they don't have to commit anything in order to get that vision down and make sure that FPX cannot take it.
Still playing around that Baron, skirting around the vision. FPX give themselves over another blue buff over to Doinb, almost level 16 here on the Cassiopeia.
That's dangerous.
GimGoon, almost level 16 as well.
That is honestly dangerous because once they hit their rank 3 ultimates, that's when they're ready to fight. And regardless of the power spike that Puff is currently entering, they can pretty much take him down because if Vayne ever gets within range to auto, then that means that Doinb's within range to bust down Puff with Vayne.
I see a very easy team fight though if you're someone like FPX, of course, with the cannon on Vici Gaming. Very easy to execute, but you're like, all right, look at how FPX start this fight. Look at how they layer it all down. It just seems like there are so many elements that Vici Gaming have to keep track of that the later this game goes, the harder it will be to make sure that one single person out of FPX doesn't run the control of the team fight.
And you also need to watch for the combination from Vici Gaming because even though they are behind in terms of gold, they can still engage these fights with the Kennen ultimate in conjunction with the Tahm Kench ultimate. You can always do a power delivery service to get them into the middle of the FPX squad, but it's a very dangerous gambit if you choose to go for it.
Definitely is. Remember, being on hit Kennen there on the top side of the map means that the team fight prowess of Chelizi just diminishes. Stuck in a side lane, that's exactly where he wants to be. We'll be going towards the Frozen Mallet coming up next as well.
It's also naturally risky from Chelizi going to AD because I was explaining why he wanted it for the lane, but at this point in the game, there is a severe lack of magic damage if Jay doesn't hit his skill shots, which against Doinb, a stationary target, look, he hasn't got 100% accuracy in the lane, I'm going to be honest. So it does mean that Vici Gaming will be expected to lack some magic damage heading into the next fight.
Whether that damage eventually does come out in the fight will depend on this third item that Jay is slowly building up. Haunting guys picked up there by Doinb. 300 CS, 25 minutes. It continues. And as long as this game goes, FPX are fine. They feel great. So paced out. Vici Gaming just trying to impeach for vision, while Doinb picks up 310 CS at 25, 26 minutes.
And I like this coming out from Vici. Finally, they're not happy with losing down so much vision against FPX, and they want to start pushing it back towards the Baron. Still the biggest objective for them right now, they need to keep eyes on it at all times. That beautiful little play from Southwind to carry the Scuttle Crab away, that's about to expire for them, which means that FPX, if they really want to continue being dominant, not only with their gold, they need to re-put those, put down vision again. Get vision around the vision control around the Baron, which is going to be a very tough task for Vici Gaming to clear.
It will be. They are top side of the map right now, but still not confident enough to move into the river and clear out towards the Baron pit itself. As you mentioned just before, Scuttle will expire shortly. And FPX always on the threat here. But still happy to scale it up. I love FPX's comp. And I know what happens at the 40-minute mark. As Vici Gaming getting closer and closer towards it, I still fear for them. I don't care if you have a cannon. That is an on-hit cannon. I would prefer the Vladimir.
Where are the picks? Where's the action coming out from Vici? Because they are just smooth sailing towards this iceberg, and it is well within the horizon. You can see it at this point. And Vici Gaming are not even trying to veer off course.
You know what I would say? Just let the iceberg take you. But that's not what Vici Gaming want to do. Nor was it what the Titanic wanted to do. Let's be quite honest. Actually, one of the best movies I've ever seen.
I cried. I mean, Celine Dion, when I first heard it.
Oh, yeah.
That was it. That was my childhood defined.
That was romantic just for myself. Oh, that's a quick cleanse from Southwind. A lot of respect being paid towards Crisp this game, but when Vici Gaming are scared and don't have the vision necessary to make the call, Summoner's burnt immediately, as quickly as that. Second skin. It lands here, Preacher.
Look, all jokes aside, I am legitimately fearing for Vici Gaming because they want to scale late with Puff, but the later scaling goes towards FPX. They need to pull the trigger right now. They don't have to worry about these unclean team fights. Just make sure that you find odd numbers because FPX are not grouping up as a 5-man.
Well, that might be a quick pick off there. Doinb, remember, has the cleanse available. He's baiting in, though.
All right.
Even takes the paddle star before walking away. Waiting for the cleanse in an almighty engage that you're expecting to see happen. 28 minutes. 5 kills, not very FPX-X. But Vici Gaming, it continues. Let's go. Find that pick, Doinb. Snakes away.
This is good. It's delaying time for Vici, but what are they necessarily delaying for?
That's what I wanted to see.
All right.
It'll be spotted out, though, with the Void Seeker just hitting the edge of the pit. FPX only threatened to walk in, but Baron's still being done. Crisp is backing.
Wait a second. No.
Stop.
Oh, no.
Crisp still sitting there, still backing away. Doinb's backing as well. Tian's backing as well.
What?
Vision goes down. It's too late.
Oh,
FPX
man.
just underestimate Vici Gaming. They play the double back and forth in front of the pit, and Vici win it.
I don't believe it. That's like playing hide and seek with your older brother, and he's actually just hiding in front of the table that you're sitting down on. Like, nobody even knows that the Baron's happening. And because Ike's isn't on the Baron, because he's shooting down random Prey Seekers, FPX just assumed that they went straight off of it. It was also due to the fact that LWS didn't hit his W, so they weren't 100% guaranteed onto the Baron. They just had no idea.
Take a look at what happened, because it was a abyssal voyage. Puff and Southwind are the shining light of this team every single darn game.
They're doing it. They're using their advantage. Because it's a Vayne with Ginsu, that's all of the damage that you need, and also the Tahm Kench for the tankiness. What else can you say other than Vici Gaming pulled off the impossible?
They made a decision, they made a call, and it worked out. That's exactly what you wanted to see as Tian takes a trouble bubble. Jay coming in. Paddle Star. Yeah, Jay is 5 levels ahead of the enemy jungler, and now the advantage of the Zoe is coming to effect. The advantage of Baron as well, and although the scaling as holistically might not go to Vici Gaming, they still have very good, incredibly good scalers, rather, themselves.
And despite the fact that they don't have the best siege, they have the poke coming out from Jay. So if Jay can consistently land all of these paddle stars, then they can push people off FPX's turrets, and then they can use Vayne's auto attacks that way. So it still does work out for Vici Gaming in the long run, but what this does mean is that they are very well kept inside of this game, and when you take a look at the gold, the differential's practically non-existent anymore.
Yeah, that's right. Back to normal. Tian cannot face into Jay. That is for sure. The mid laners are escalated in this game, and although before I'm talking up, Doinb has 360 CS at 30 minutes. Jay's still ahead of the clock and now needs to be ahead of the play.
GimGoon is coming in for the flank.
All right, here comes the flank finally. AoE damage, remember? Wow, where's the fight? It doesn't start. It doesn't end. It's just over. Chelizi caught out as well, has to finish the teleport. GimGoon chasing up, and here comes the flag and drag, flushed away. Tian finds that Mark of the Storm cannot be applied. 2 kills for Doinb. Ike's gets stopped with his Baron buff recall, and this is the bonus. If Vici Gaming were confident before, they sure as hell aren't going to be anymore.
Dang! Vici Gaming were pushing the mid lane, but not all members were there.
The killer instinct as well onto Jay, following it up. Second skin, XLwx flashes in.
Oh.
This game it might just be over like that.
Yeah, it went from 0 to 50 to 100 straight away in Sterix. From the Baron sneak all the way to FPX coming back. Vici Gaming were not grouped. FPX exploited with the group as well.
They wanted to be the heroes. Vici Gaming had the Baron, they had the momentum, but on this side, FPX can never be underestimated. You can't sit back, let them do their thing and expect nothing to happen, as Puff and Southwind may be the heroes of this team, but Puff will die first, Southwind second, and FPX, with this win, they secure first place in the LPL Spring for 2019.
FPX avoiding everything, even though Vici Gaming took the Baron without them noticing. As soon as they were desperate on the map, moving around to get as much of the jungle as they could, the 3-man in the mid lane got collapsed on and people got popped before they could even fight back.
2-0 against Vici Gaming. It's what you expected coming into this series, but Vici Gaming put up such an annoying fight against FPX. When you have a composition like that, one wrong move at 30 minutes in the game, death timers were too large to challenge. So FPX claim first seed running into playoffs. They secure semi-finals in the LPL Spring as well.
And it was done in such fine fashion. We highlighted GimGoon before and we were talking about his impact for the team. Doesn't matter whether he's on a tank, doesn't matter whether he's shaking Doinb's knees, he is doing so much, especially with the Vladimir in that game. I mean, that last fight was pretty much just him coming around the corner and carrying his team saying, look, there are 3 members here, everybody else is off farming the jungle, let's just kill him.
Yeah, really good flank from GimGoon. This sets up playoffs so nicely. Not only will FPX have 2 series to play, but FPX, there is a big chance that they can make the full run. Their road to the Champions Cup and then to MSI is there now. And they have V5 as simply a formality for them, just to show the rest of the world how they're going. That's what this series was as well, against Vici Gaming, showing the rest of the world exactly who they are.
And they also tried it with new styles as well. No longer the Tian and Doinb combo. Finally, Tian expands his branches, goes into the top lane. Of course, admittedly, in the second game, he did go down into the mid lane. But it does mean that teams going into FPX, especially in the playoffs, have to fear that combination because you can't just read them like a book anymore. They got more than one strategy.
I want to point out as well that Doinb is still undefeated on this Cassiopeia. I have to confirm the KDA after all of this motion that's just happened in the FPX Ocean in game number 2, but still one of his most successful champions. He looks great. GimGoon as well, the versatility shown in that game. Tank game 1, carry game 2. Good comparison as to his playstyle and how versatile he can be.
He can do it all, and more importantly, when you take a look at his lane matchup in specific, if you give him the counter pick, then he can just perform. The Poppy in game number 1 with the Conqueror as well, you knew that he was trying to bust down the Scion in a 1v1 situation, and pretty much every single time we saw him, it wasn't necessarily with Doinb ganking his lane, but he was winning it long before his team even joined him.
Really comfortable in that lane, especially because we know how the Vladimir goes into Cannon, but we also know that for someone like Tian, like, he had a series again, a very good series. We started off with vertical jungling, which arguably helped him out once more.
Well, it looked as if he was just trying to respond to the Vici strategy, but it still looks good, because if Vici catch you off guard, all of a sudden, then they're in an advantage. But if you can always read it, which pretty much happens 100% of the games, then you can counter it. And as it turns out in the second game, the collapse down onto Ix, even though they didn't pick up the kill when they should have, because they could have easily collapsed their members across, it still looked really good because it denied them a whole lot of time.
Very stable laning phases for FPX as well, and that's what Tian ensures, that the lanes are either going to go neutral or positive. And in that game, they went pretty positive, pretty neutral in different ways as well. And you're saying, okay, we have a Vladimir, Cassiopeia, Kai'Sa, Jarv and Galio. How do we start the fights? It's so darn obvious. It's so easy to execute.
And look, I'm going to say it's not without its flaws, okay? Because when you take a look at their bottom lane, they are left on a bit of an island by themselves. And that was even seen by Vici Gaming, because they were trying to exploit down to it. Oh, look, it's beautiful. Man. They've got pina coladas, but nonetheless...
I've been at islands.
Look, the fact that there's a Rek'Sai and also a Zoe trying to bear down onto the bottom lane, it means that even a team like Vici Gaming know that you leave that lane alone. And if that can be exploited by some of the other top-tier teams when we go into playoffs, that could be one of their losing strategies. They need to tighten that up.
It's a matchup against RNG is a rematch that I know will be a grudge match for them. It's a matchup against IG that they look favorable in, and that's why we saw as Doinb went absolutely bonkers at the end of that series. There's so many matchups that I'm looking forward to again that when these playoffs get seeded, when we finally get our top 8 and everyone's locked into place, I'll be curious as to who FPX starts with, because this is a team that is on a rampage. Can they make that same rampage and make that same momentum in a best-of-5 format is the new question.
I mean, that's what we have to look out for. Doinb has had good success. Look, I have to talk about his time last year on
regular season. Yeah, sorry, go on.
All right, so first of all, in regular season. And second of all, I was going to talk about 2018 when he was on Rogue Warriors. He has had good success as well. You're talking about Rift Rivals. You're talking, well, he didn't join MSI, but he still did very well in the first split for his team.
He did well in Rift Rivals. That was the reason we went to the Game 5 against the FLICKR.
Of course he did. Yeah, that's what I was going to talk about. So Doinb definitely has the experience and the Game 5 experience. He needs to lead the rest of his team to victory, and I think that if FPX are following him, which they look like they are every single game, then he could definitely do that.
It was a big moment for FPX, and I think this game cements their legacy for the spring split at the very least. We'll take a look back, because that one big play was all it took for FPX to end the game in the end there as well. And I believe it was the pick out on Puff here as he got caught out on the Vayne.
GimGoon off on the side, comes back in, and everybody gets popped before the fight even starts. If you take a look at the members of Vici Gaming, off on the side, Jay's not there, Ike's wasn't there, and naturally when you don't join the fight, even Chelizi, who uses ultimate way too late, the fact that he didn't use it in the mid lane is testament enough to it
was also Crisp there with the double flash taunt. That's what secured the game. Crisp is so darn good in this roster. There is nothing bad you can say about him. There's nothing bad you can say about anyone in FPX at this point. I'm just so motivated to see them in playoffs. I can't wait.
Yeah, I can't wait, but it will have to come once again to them tightening up all of their weaknesses. Bottom lane looks like it can be exploited. You mentioned into RNG. That's a place that they like to focus.
But it was exploited. Like game 2, they're just farming at the turret. You're like, well, okay. They then swap lanes. Bottom lane has to follow, and you're saying, it's a longer lane now. Have fun with that. Kai'Sa, Galio, there's still safety.
All I'm saying is, if you are going as that bottom lane into Ning and also Rookie ganking bot, I'm not feeling so hot for you. So they definitely need to watch out for that.
I mean, I don't expect Ning and Rookie to make the ganks as bottom lane as they do with Ning and the Shy in the top lane. Anyway, I'd be curious on that matchup too, especially with the topside priority against Invictus Gaming. But we don't know who's going up against them net. Semi-finals is the highest position that you can start at. And first seed is such a big testament to FPX in a season that has Invictus Gaming coming off of Worlds, RNG coming off their MSI win, and, you know, still making it through to the run to G2 in Worlds. Let's not talk about that. But there are so many good teams. TOP, BLG, you know, there. Sino Dragon coming up. WE. Let me keep going and going and going. It just doesn't stop.
I was about to hit on TOP because they were the other contention to really be first place within the league. You remember how there was a brief moment in which FPX and TOP swapped places between first and second, but that's really what I was talking about. It is the year of the youngsters, and especially with TOP, you know, they could definitely challenge.
I don't think it's year of the youngsters. I'm pretty sure we just had Chinese G. What year is it?
It's the year of the pig.
Year of the pig. Yeah. Thank you so much. I think I'm a pig, by the way. I'm not actually too sure about that, but if I was, I am, by the way. That's my birth year. I actually looked that up.
Yeah, you looked it
up. Yeah, you know. I thought you said I look like that. But this is the year of FPX. So call it now. Put out something brave. This is a year of FPX. Right. And if they can make the run in playoffs, if they can move to the best of 5 format and look confident, I'll just be smiling. Well,
I was about to ask what year is it for Doinb, but you know, you've got blonde hair, he's got blonde hair as well. It is the year of Doinb, I'd say.
I actually think it's brown. I'm not sure what color my hair is, but in that game, you know, I felt motivation towards Doinb, but someone set him up. Someone set him up very nicely, and as always, it was Tian. Tian picks up a lot of MVPs as well, and of course, because his jungle is the most dominant out of some of the LPL.
Well, the reason is because he can actually choose which lane that he wants to influence. In the second game, he opted to go for Doinb because the Cassiopeia doesn't have a great time in the early game despite Doinb's amazing level 1. So, of course, Tian with the Jarvan, especially with the lockdowns, allowing Crisp to just ultimate into pretty much safety because multiple people are going to be knocked up. It was all of his doing and all of his execution.
I have one thing about Tian. Do not give this man Jarvan. Although Jarvan looks great on pretty much everyone else, giving this man Jarvan is almost a death sentence 9 out of 10 games.
And I'm about to say that I quite like his Jarvan much more than his Rek'Sai because he's an aggressive jungler. What does he need the vision for? He doesn't need to care about it if anybody else is there because he's not really going to be going into your jungle. He's going to be going into his lanes, and Jarvan definitely facilitates it. So I think it's a player and also a champion matchup that will make history.
Both are fantastic. I like the Rek'Sai, I like the Jarvan. I like the way FPX are going because each and every player on this roster looks strong. By securing first, securing first against IG and RNG. There are big expectations, but RNG still need to make the journey, Preacher. First for FPX, where are RNG going to finish? They need this series to finish top 5. We'll see where they land right after this.